Good afternoon everybody. This is S.Swathi, here in Botany, working in Telangana Government Tribal Welfare Residential Degree College, Devankonda. In this session, we have to discuss about tissues.
Before starting the tissues, we have to learn about the small introduction part. That is, it is the topic of plant anatomy. The plant anatomy means study of internal structures of plants and other organisms. Every plant pots have made up of many tissues. Every tissue is made up of a single cell. In a cell, the divisions will be occurred and forms the tissues. The tissue means a group of cells are called tissues. It means having same origin and fundamental function. On the basis of division, the divisions based upon tissues are classified into two types, that is the meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue means the tissue which is having capacity of cell division repeatedly. It is called as meristematic tissue. The meristematic tissue again divided according to their position: apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem. Next type of permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is the tissue which is having the capacity of cell division is occur permanently or temporarily. It means do not divide once again. The tissue are classified into two types, that is simple tissue. Majorly two types, that is the simple tissue and complex tissue. In the simple tissue again divided into three types, that is the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. In the tissue of permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue is divided into two types, that is the xylem and phloem. Totally the classification of plant tissue based upon the capacity of the cell division. Cell division based, the tissues are divided into two types, meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Let us see the what is tissue, what are the types of we have to observe in this session. Let us see this. In this, tissue is a group of cells having common origin and function. Based upon the capacity of cell division, plant tissues are the two types, that is the meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. In the first one, meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue is which is having capacity of cell divisions occur repeatedly is called meristematic tissue. In this tissue, the cells are active division spot and growths are occur. In the meristematic tissue is first observed in vesicular plants. It was first observed, the scientist name is C. Nageli. C. Nageli was proposed by meristematic tissue in first observed the plants. Next, according to their position, basically meristematic tissue cells are oval shaped and spherical shaped, polygonal shape, and the cell in between the cells, intercellular spaces are most of the absent. The cells having the large nucleus and vacuole and also cytoplasm. It is the undifferentiated tissue is called as meristematic tissue. According to their position, meristematic tissue are the three types, that is the apical meristem, intercalary meristem and secondary lateral meristem. Based upon apical meristem. Apical meristem, they occur at the tips of roots and stems and produce primary tissues. It means apical meristem is basically developed from the growing points of the roots and stems. It is if meristem will be present on the shoot, that is called as shoot to apical meristem. If meristem will be grow from the root side, it is called as a root apical meristem. it mainly the meristem will be work as the plant body's growing and elongation process will be occurred. They occur mainly tips of the roots and shoot produce primary tissues. Next, the root apical meristem occupies the tip of a root. We have to observe the root apical meristem. Every in the root system, the root having primary root and its side branches is called as the lateral roots. The root having upper side is the root apex. In the root apex, the meristematic tissue present, which is apical meristems. We have to observe in this slide the initials of the central and cortex type. It is the root apical meristem. In the next, we have to observe in the stem the shoot apical meristem. It occupies the distant most region of the stem apex. Some cells left behind from shoot apical meristem constitute the axillary bud. They are present on the axilla of leaves and can form a branch or a flower. In the shoot, in upper side of the region, the meristem will be developed, that is the shoot apical meristem. It is mainly constituted the axillary bud, and it forms the leaves and a branch of a flower. Next, we have to discuss about another type is intercalary meristem. Intercalary, nothing but between two nodes. We have to observe, for example, we have to observe sugar cane. The stem having the nodes and internodes of the stem. Between the two nodes, the internode having the intercalary meristem. They occur between mature tissues. They occur in grasses and regenerate pods removed by the grazing herbivores. If we have to observe grasses, nothing but in monocotyledons like poaceae, like rice wheat, we have to any grasses plants when herbivores means who eat only vegetarian leaves. When it will be eaten by some animals, but it will have to regenerated from the internodes of the stem. Intercalary meristem present on the nodes. When maturity level increase, the type of tissue occur mature regions of the roots and shoots. This is responsible for producing secondary tissues. Apical and intercalary meristems are the most primary meristem because they appear early in a plant life and contribute to the formation of plant body. During that specific region of apical meristem produce dermal tissues, ground tissues and vascular tissue. In the meristematic tissue, mainly the apical meristem tissue and intercalary meristem tissue are primary meristem. When cell divisions are occur in, it is formed the lateral meristem. It can be useful for width of the plant body. Mainly apical meristem and intercalary meristems are useful for elongation of plant body, growing of plant body. It may produce the dermal tissues, ground tissues and vascular tissue. When he observed the section cutting of stem or root, we have to first observe between some layers are observed, that is the epidermal layer and cortex and vascular tissue. These are all produced from the apical meristems. Okay. Next, third one but last and least one, secondary or lateral meristems. The meristems that occur in mature regions of root and shoots. Mainly Apical and intercalary meristems are primary regions of the roots and shoots, but lateral meristems are occurring mature regions of the roots and shoots. They are the cylindrical meristems. They are seen in gymnosperms and dicots. Example of vesicular cambium and intervesicular cambium and cork cambium. But these are responsible for producing the secondary tissues. Mainly apical and intercalary meristems are produces the primary tissues, but secondary lateral meristems are responsible for the producing of secondary tissues. That next we have to learn about the next type of permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is nothing but a capacity of cell division occur permanently or temporarily. It means do not divide again. The tissues or permanent tissues are three types, that is the simple tissue, complex tissue and special tissues. In simple tissues, structural fundamental same cells are called as the simple tissue. Again it divided into three types, that is the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Next to complex tissues having two types, that is the xylem and phloem. In the last, the difference between meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. In meristematic tissue, the cells are divided repeatedly. We have to observe in meristematic tissue, cells are divided repeatedly. Next, in permanent tissue, the cells are do not divide. It divide on temporarily or permanently cell division will be occurred. In meristematic tissue, the cells are undifferentiated. Permanent tissue cells are fully differentiated because it have three types of cells, that is the simple tissue, complex tissues and special tissue. Next to meristematic tissue, the cells are small and isodiametric. In permanent tissue, cells are variable in shape and size. Next, the intercellular space are absent in meristematic tissue. Permanent tissue, intercellular spaces are present. Meristematic tissue, the vacuoles are absent. In this permanent tissue, vacuoles are present. The meristematic tissue, the cell walls are the thin. Permanent tissue, the cell walls may be thick or thin. Meristematic tissue, inorganic inclusions are absent. Permanent tissue, inorganic inclusions are present. In classification, once again we have to explain that the meristematic tissue is mainly divided according to their position. These are the three types. And permanent tissue are again divided into two types. Simple permanent tissue is divided into three types, that is the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. In simple tissue, that are structurally fundamentally same cells are called simple tissue. In complex, they are the different types of cells are present. Parenchyma cells mainly used for the storage tissue. In collenchyma tissue, it is given to plant for flexibility. Mechanical strength given tissue is called as collenchyma cells. Next, sclerenchyma tissue is called it given the plants for hardness. Next type is complex permanent tissue. In this tissue, the cells are structurally and fundamentally different types of cells are arranged. It is again divided into two types, that is the xylem and phloem. The xylem tissue is mainly conducting of water. The plant pots are developed. It taken water from the soil. The xylem tissue are useful for the conduction of the water. Again, the next tissue phloem is useful for the food and minerals to transport from base to apex side. Uh, it takes from the soil, water and food minerals and transport to upper parts of the leaves like stem and bird flowers. Mainly the phloem tissue is helpful for the food and mineral transportation. The xylem cells are again divided into tracheodes, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Next, the phloem tissue having the sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and also phloem fibers. The complete classification of plant tissue is mainly depend upon the divisions of these cells. Uh, okay, in this topic, in the next session, we have to learn about the permanent tissue types. Okay, thank you for all giving this opportunity.